Let's down the music. Hello, welcome to everybody. Buonasera a tutti, signori. Sorry for Carl. I make an introduction in double language.
Yeah, no worries.
First of all, thank you very much to Carl Druid to be here with us. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And good evening, Eric. Good evening, Carl. And good evening to all the people in chat. First of all, grazie Max per l'abbonamento, gentilissimissimo. Grazie mille, grazie tante.
Hi everybody, thank you Carl for being here. Ciao a tutti, bentornati, buonasera a tutti.
Okay, tonight we have a great guest in our Strange Ball. We are very big, proud to have you here. A little bit moved, a little bit with a little bit fangirling in this sense, and we are very happy to have here Carl Druid. And we start immediately with our usual question that we make to all our guests. Dear Carl, please tell to us and to our chat, who is Carl Druid?
Oh wow, yeah, I'm Carl Druid, based in Gothenburg, Sweden, part of the awesome Gothenburg Cabal, which was started as a reactionary movement to face off against the great successes of the Stockholm cartel and their Mörkborg stuff. And Frontier Scum was kind of the first thing we released with the Gothenburg Cabal. But yeah, I'm a web developer when I'm not doing RPG stuff. So you might have seen me, my generators like Scumperther, Scumatorium, Dungeon Gen, and such. I've also done some writing for Mörkborg stuff. So you might have seen like the Cursed Skinwalker and such in some adventures. But Frontier Scum is really my first huge, big published adventure and system. So yeah.
This is very good. Thank you very much for your introduction. Thank you.
First of all, I have to say thank you for all the digital content that you made for all the Mörkborg community, because it's something absolutely useful, and I cannot imagine all the situation, all the game without these tools. I hope that they will be available for all the future product that Stockholm Cartel and your side. I hope do not pronounce it wrong. I prefer not pronouncing, so I cannot pronounce it wrong. And I think that your work just for the digital content, is for all the generators, it's absolutely useful and amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been great. Just the response from Johan and Pelle, especially of Mörkborg fame, the way they've supported and actively contributed to making these cool generators and allowing me to make them. It's great.
It's absolutely amazing. So what I really like to ask you first of all is, for instance, what is your relationship with role-playing games? What you do, where do you get the inspiration from, and where does your creative process come about? So can you tell us something about your fonts of these inspirations?
Yeah, sure. So I started role-playing games quite late. I just gotten back from living in China, and I didn't. I went into a new university program, and I didn't know anyone in Gothenburg. So I heard about Dungeons and Dragons. I played one session of 5th edition online. The dungeon master fell asleep and then never contacted us again. But I was hooked. So I decided to put out a notice in my new class to see if anyone wanted to play, and I basically started as a dungeon master from day one. And that sort of, I think that was in 2017, 2016. So I did a lot of just Dungeons and Dragons stuff, but then I kind of dipped my toes into OSR stuff, starting with like the Free League stuff like Metal Gear Zero, and then especially Forbidden Lands. I did a lot of Forbidden Lands stuff, and that sort of led me to find 𝑺𝑷𝑬𝑏𝑚𝑺 as soon as that became, when that got announced, and I was in with that from day one basically, and yeah, the rest is history. But as for my inspirations, is a lot of it just comes from day-to-day stuff, like whatever I'm watching or reading or listening to, music or movies or whatever. So you can probably tell a lot of, like, when I was writing Frontier Scum, it was a lot of Western movies, especially lesser known ones. So I found the obscure, rare movies that people might not have heard about, and yeah, that's sort of, they in particular, more than the classic Western, you can say, inspired me. Stuff like Dead Man and yeah, The Lighthouse is kind of a Western. It takes place in the right time and period and place. So, and then also Ravenous. Love Ravenous. You can see a lot of inspiration from all those things in Frontier Scum. Yeah.
May I just ask you one thing? Because reading the manual of Frontier Scum, I found there is a little bit, just a touch of powder of maybe some splatter version of some Western movies. So I speak about something like Army of Dead, something like this. Okay, am I right or I'm completely wrong?
Yeah, like Western horror was definitely right.
Yeah.
Ravenous, for instance, is very meaty, but then Bone Tomahawk, of course. And then quite late in the process, I watched El Topo, and that sort of probably got a bit of splatter inspiration into the book at the last minute as well. But yeah, definitely, like, a horror is definitely a part of it, and yeah.
I really love that you mentioned a lot of movies that are not so mainstream in the Western genre, because everybody, when they think about Western, thinks about great movies that are okay, Sergio Leone and everything from Clint Eastwood, also John Wayne. But you also mentioned some titles that are not so mainstream, that are in your area of influence, that are absolutely amazing. So you touched a lot of other materials like Dead Man. I know a lot of a lot of people that I speak with don't even know what Dead Man is, and this is crazy for me.
Yeah, it's. I think I watched it like 3 times the week that I first found it.
Okay.
It's one of my favorite movies ever, just with the music and everything. It's so good. But yeah, that was kind of a big part of Frontier Scum and how it came to be as well. That there's a lot of Western games, but most of them try to be either super historical or they try to emulate like the mythical Wild West, with like the good versus bad sort of themes. And I wanted a Western game that's more about like darker stuff, darker themes, more horrific maybe, but also at the same time a bit more mundane than the weirdest Westerns out there. there's a lot of like if you go for a weird Western, you often get to a point where the weird is common, so you expect the weird, which I don't particularly enjoy either. So I tried to find some sort of contrast between the super mundane. You could play Frontiers completely without any sort of supernatural elements whatsoever, and you wouldn't have to cut away anything. But also like that contrast between that mundane stuff and the really weird stuff, which you can see in like the movies I mentioned, with stuff just getting progressively weirder as the movie progresses.
Absolutely amazing.
Absolutely, absolutely. Very, very interesting. Now we are very curious about some other things. One is, what is your relation in this period that is so popular with the OSR, and in particular with Morkborg and its content and side content?
I mean, it's in many ways integral to my role in the RPG sphere. Like there's so much, so many nice philosophies in the OSR style of playing that sort of really vibed with me. So after playing like Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition for so many years, it was just breath of fresh air and sort of a realization that you could actually do things another way. So I'm personally a huge fan of the OSR, like the philosophies and stuff. But I'm also really into like the newer OSR stuff. I wasn't really around for when the old stuff was new, so I don't really have any nostalgic feeling towards those older classics. So I think I'm particularly interested in new stuff coming out. There's so much awesome stuff, like Mörkborg and 𝑺𝑍𝑬𝑹 and Into the Odd, stuff like that. There's so much cool stuff coming out right now. So I think for me, it's not so much about like old school stuff. It's more about maybe new school thinking compared to Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition.
So you are projected and oriented to the future. This is very interesting because it's a part of our curiosity to the authors of OSR and OSR related games. What will be the future of this industry? You just pointed attention to two games, one Into the Void, the other one is 𝑺𝑍𝑬𝑹, that are becoming so popular here in Italy, very, very popular, especially 𝑺𝑍𝑬𝑹. So I agree with you, and I appreciate your thesis about that.
Yeah, there is some kind of backlash, some delay in 𝑺𝑍𝑬𝑹 in Italy, because actually 𝑺𝑍𝑬𝑹 came out quite a bit ago and won the Ennis. I believe that was 2 years ago or 3 years ago, but in Italy, I don't know why it became famous quite like this year, and it now it's coming in Italian language too. So I think it's an amazing title. I think you both agree with me about this.
Yeah, it's innovative, but still keeping hold of those cool philosophies. I think that's really where the exciting bit of the OSR is, for sure.
Absolutely.
May I tell you one thing about this? Because I agree with you that it's very innovative, and in Italy we were so deep linked to another game about mouses that was 𝑚ouseGuard, okay? But the system of 𝑚ouseGuard was really, really complex and hard to play. So I think that one of the real fortune of 𝑺𝑍𝑬𝑹 was to let this system become very more easy and easy to approach even to newbies for the role play games.
Yeah, for sure. I think especially like the OSR inspired stuff coming out now, there's a lot of focus on being friendly to new players as well. That might have been a bit of an issue before when stuff was partly old, but also maybe a bit more inaccessible. These days, like you can go down to my local game shop and there's like as much indie RPGs as there are like mainstream stuff. It's super accessible and anyone can get into it.
Cool, absolutely cool. So, speaking about Frontier Scum, beside the fact that it's an amazing game and Acid Western Games, for those who doesn't know it's a game full of ideas. It has become very important among the OSR lovers. So, may I ask you how you came up with the idea of Forbidden Scum, Frontier Scum? How you decided to write an acid Western RPG?
Yeah, it kind of started with just me wondering what would happen if you added cowboys to Mörkborg. But then it kind of as I was doing working on that, just seeing what I could do, making a little, not even a hack, just a little module for Mörkborg. It kind of quickly grew, and eventually it became so different that I decided to not call it a Mörkborg hack anymore, because it's like the vibes and the themes and especially the gameplay for players is quite different compared to vanilla Mörkborg. But yeah, it all started out with just Mörkborg with guns.
And dynamite.
Yeah.
A lot of dynamite.
May I would like to exchange one point with you. I've wrongly, before starting the streaming, I've wrongly defined all the universe of what happened after Morkborg, like Annus Domini, you know, like the division of the millennium. But I want to say honestly that with the new titles that comes in and changing the OSR world after Morkborg, so Cyborg, Pirateborg, and even games with your that completely divided themselves even from the title, I found a little bit that Morkborg is becoming very old, okay, in this sense. It's becoming old because they gave the start, but at the end what is happened is like a breaking a dam. No, everybody going for their way, for their path, and the possibility to explore the lore of games, of every possible ideas as you can add it. No, I said I want to do Morkborg with guns and dynamites. No, what happened? And this would happen create really a very wide, incredible scenario of new games. So I feel that Frontier Scum, even if it's definable as OSR, at the end it's very, very far from Morkborg, even if there is a connection, obviously. But the time that passed and evolution that is so quick in this sector, let some game like Cyborg, like Pirateborg, okay, give this distance even day by day larger. This, do you feel this feels, or is something that it's just our perception?
Yeah, I mean, I think I first heard about Mörkborg like 3-4 years ago now. So it's been around a while, but also it's sort of become a vanilla ice cream of a new type of role playing. you can see 𝑺𝑷𝑬𝑏𝑚 influences everywhere in new projects and layout wise as well as philosophy wise. But there's so many different things. I think you can feel like maybe 𝑺𝑷𝑬𝑏𝑚 is like when 𝑺𝑷𝑬𝑏𝑚 came out, it was a big like upheaval, a sort of a rebelling against what you could do with layout and graphic design and stuff like that, and just how you could present what a role-playing game could be. But then as time goes on, of course, everybody sort of gets used to it. So it sort of becomes this sort of not boring, because I don't think 𝑺𝑷𝑬𝑏𝑚 is boring at all. I love it,
Yeah.
but it becomes a sort of vanilla ice cream, and then you have all these other
Mhm.
types popping up that try to spice things up in their own way. And yeah, it would be fair to say that there's a lot of role-playing games coming out now that are Borg-likes,
Yeah.
I think.
Correct definition, thanks. Borg likes.
Yeah, I also use the term Borg-like games, and I think that I agree with you that for the fact that Morkborg started something. It spreads like a disease, a beautiful disease, and it's moving so fast. A lot of games came out after that. I think also thanks to the fact that there is the open license, so people can
Definitely. Yeah.
create whatever they want, and we came out to Frontier Scam and maybe a lot of other content that we don't know in a very very short time. I think I think it's amazing because it is giving the content back to the players, to small creators, beside beside the big publishing publishing society that has nothing bad about that, but I think it's an interesting way of producing RPGs.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think without the third-party license, the whole role-playing, like indie role-playing game sphere would look different, completely different if we hadn't gotten the third-party license for 𝑺𝑷𝑬𝑏𝑚, and there were other games, I think, doing similar licenses at the same time. And it's sort of like almost like an open source movement for role-playing games, and you can see so much innovation popping up, and with marketplaces and ways of distributing that you can do these days, it's so easy to get your stuff out there. But I think the third-party license is crucial to that, as well as the 𝑺𝑷𝑬𝑏𝑚 cult movement that they had when they just started, where they helped lay out just fan creations with proper art and layout. Stuff like that is super inspiring when you're getting started in the hobby, just being recognized like that.
This is a very good point that you told, because at the end there was a long-term view that I see when Morkborg come out, because when Morkborg come out, the real the second revolution that he made, that is not the game itself, at the end is what happened when a lot of many people start to write about Morkborg with the chance to make the content by yourself, and even if having an earning about this, and today we have a company that make content just for third parties of Morkborg only, okay, or just developing new OSR games. So I think that this was a very long-term view from Morkborg people, from Stockholm Cartel people, from Free League and Workshop, and I think that it was a market buster in this sense. There is I am 40 years old and I didn't see things like this since medium of 90s. So when there was out one manual of Dungeons and Dragons per week. Okay, and people write everything into the forums about adventures, lore, and something like that. So it's quite very revolutionary, as I can say. And I see that even for Frontiers Camp, from your Twitter page, I saw that people is starting to write a lot of things, adventures. There are images, videos, reels. So it's very viral, and I'm happy about that.
Yeah, there's been some awesome stuff coming out. Just today there was the Frontier Scum solo pamphlet, Lonesome Drifter from Keoclips. It just came out right before the stream started, and that I think it's a very good example of the cool stuff that's coming out for Frontier Scum. I think that's what's so great about a third-party license, which is that is so open, that you can make all sorts of stuff, and yeah, it's just awesome to see.
Good.
Yeah, absolutely. So, also, what I like to ask you is this: speaking about your other part of your creation, how do you start? Is it so difficult to create a character creator generator for all this title?
It all comes down to how much, how dynamic you want it. It's really easy making a generator which is just like some tables, and you put together the results. But then when you start adding different ifs and buts for different classes that function differently, and you add that you want to make like if you get a D4 silver or whatever, that you want to have that be rolled as well, and you want all that to be dynamic. It's a rabbit hole, and it's very easy to just get lost in awesome cool stuff you can do with the digital medium. Like when we did the cyborg generators, there was so much stuff to do. So we wanted to do with the ads that pop up, and the whole fake terminal in the bottom of the screen and stuff like that. So I think while making a generator isn't necessarily complicated, once you realize how much you can do with it, the difficulty is in deciding what not to do, because there's so much you can do with it.
Very interesting. We have a question from the chat. Am I right? Am I right, Eric?
Yes, yes, and it is apart from movies, are there any other visuals, comics, or literature as concept to your work?
Literary, I think the closest thing would be the big recreation of the Sears catalog from 1896 that I have, which I used a lot when laying out stuff, just taking inspiration from how a catalog looked back then. But as for literary stuff, I'm not great at sticking with a book for very long, so I don't have a lot of actual books that inspired me. There was a lot of music. Listened to a lot of music. I had a huge playlist with all sorts of dark Western stuff, like Justin Johnson in particular. Lots of great tunes. and then movie soundtracks, of course. But primarily, the inspiration came from movies.
Even recent movies like maybe John X or something like that, Bon Tomahawk.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's two movies that I found very inspirating when I write something for Frontiers Come. especially Bon Tomahawk, I have to honestly say.
Yeah, there's some vibes there that really fit. But yeah, I watched some. I kind of tried to find the most obscure stuff, movies that I could. There's one called Gala Walkers,
Yeah.
Wesley
Oh,
Snipes. It's extremely frontier scum. I wouldn't say it's a very good movie, but it's a very fun movie.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the visuals are mad. It could be a frontier scum adventure for sure.
That kind of movies that you cannot say it's a good movies, but you can say it's fun. Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Inspirational, no?
Yeah, for sure.
We can say inspirational. But even if maybe it's my feel because I am Italian and maybe I'm too much linked with Western movies, but I found very inspirational even Eightful Eight from Mr. Tarantino, that it was so great for me. And even did you told about the dark Western, and I think that the Sergio Leone original soundtrack of that movie, it's something that could be really a soundtrack of an obscure adventure in Frontiers Come.
For sure. If you like the Hateful Eight, there is actually a third-party frontier scum adventure called something 6. I'm not trying to remember what exactly. It's a horrible adjective.
Yeah.
Let me find it real quick here. But it might actually be called the Abhorrent. Yes, indeed it is. It's the Abhorrent 6. So if you like Hateful Eight and you want to play something like that in Frontiers, you should definitely check out Abhorrent 6.
It's wonderful. We will try for sure. Going forward, regarding the OSR world, what future do you see in few years from now? Will the creative drive run out, or we will have new interest in new frontiers?
I don't think it will ever run out, but I think something else is gonna come along and just sort of mess up the status quo, like Mörkborg did when it came out. I think eventually something else like that, something completely that changes just the landscape and the future of role-playing games. I think that's gonna happen sooner rather than later. There's a lot of people working in role-playing games right now, and so much creativity going into it. So I think it's impossible to say what the next big thing is gonna be, but it's coming.
That's cool, interesting. I think that we can go over. Oh, we have a question from the chat about this. Am I right? Yes. Yes, we have it.
Go for it.
Yeah, we have a question that says, can you suggest some soundtracks or record in particular? You can suggest a background music while playing Frontiers Come.
Oh well, I think the Dead Man soundtrack is really good.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing.
It works really well as a background track as well while playing. I did play through Putrescens Regnant, written for Mörkborg recently, but I did it in Frontiers Come, and we used Death Robot Jungle from Games and 𝑺𝑷𝑬𝑨𝑧. That soundtrack is great if you're doing something a bit trippy, and it fits perfectly into Frontiers Come as well. So you can recommend that. Often when I play role-playing games, though, I use soundscapes rather than music,
Mm-hmm.
which I think works really well. So I can recommend checking some of those out on YouTube as well.
Yeah, there are a lot of things to use as a soundtrack. And even if you use a train, recently I saw online a session of Frontiers Come where they use a physical train with a pointer just to say, oh, you're going from there to there, and you find this, this, and this. It was very funny. I believe me.
And that sounds awesome. You have to send me the link.
For sure, I will send you.
I also use a lot of Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2
Yeah.
soundtrack for Frontiers Camp. I admit it. It's very easy, it's cheap, but I also use it a lot. Sorry.
May I tell you one secret, Carl? This is very secret. As a streamer, I played a lot of time Red Dead Redemption 2 in roleplay mode, like a GTA, okay? For
Same.
me, when I heard from Eric that informed me so friendly that it was this game existing, I said, oh, come on, may I play right now with pen and paper? I'm happy about that, okay? Stop playing with video game. I will try finally to play on the table what I play online. So for me, it was a gift. So thank you.
Thank you.
So, going forward, and well, this is a classical question, but and answer it if you can. If there is nothing on there you cannot say, but can you give us a preview of some of your future projects, something you are working on? Can you spoil something for us?
Unfortunately not. It's very secret still,
Oh,
but there is stuff coming, and it's gonna be really cool.
so, but well, this is already a nice information. So there is something you cannot speak of, and this is amazing. Well, it's maybe too early to speak about it, and but it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. Trust me.
Oh my, okay, perfect.
We trust you
So,
for sure.
let's see if we have other questions from the chat.
No, I think that I speak just a moment in Italian. Ragazzi, se avete qualche domanda, è il momento
Now is the
giusto per
time.
farla. Ora è il
Absolutely.
momento giusto di farla. May I one question from me that now I'm a little bit curious. You said I'm not so accustomed with all the generation games and so on, but I'm sure that maybe you know them, just a title, and maybe you can add some one shots about that. One title from the past, excluding the big ones for sure, that impressed you so much.
Yeah, I played a lot of. It's not one of the oldest, but it's Dungeon Crawl Classics. Played a lot of Dungeon Crawl Classics. It has a lot of really fun, creative twists on 3.5.
That's interesting. So the simple ones games from like Dungeon Crawler, you like it?
Yeah, for sure.
Do you prefer fantasy classical, or you like even futuristic one, or no, just other lores?
Like my most favorite setting are the like gray and brown, low magic fantasy stuff, Lord of the Rings style.
Okay.
People with swords and brown capes running around. It's sort of my most favorite type of setting, for sure.
Okay, that's cool. Very, very interesting.
I have two topics that I'd like to discuss with you. First of all, you choose a very interesting part of the Western culture, the far West Coast culture. It is the frontier. So why? What is for you the important part of the frontier?
Well, it's just the scale of things. I think the distances that things are weeks and weeks of travel between points. You can see it on like the Frontiers.com map as well. That things take a long while to travel. Like just the vastness of the frontier, of just unending nature, as well as nature's attempt to kind of, in the case of Carcass Country at least, push back, and just the wilderness part of it, I think is really cool, interesting.
So maybe also the violence of the time in the place, and the sense of freedom of United States, of the frontier of the United States. I believe that also I felt in the game. And another thing that I'd like to discuss, ask you, is how you choose this particular format. We were talking before the chat was starting for your book, because it's really amazing. Is not so it's you don't find some this time of binding in RPG very often. So how you came up with this idea and the idea of the internal illustration, the format of your book?
Yeah, so it kind of started out as just the plan was to make a black and white small scene of like 30 pages. Like I said, the project grew quite a bit. So when the page count got up, it sort of became inevitable. And it's also a much more fun thing to do hardback. But then when we were looking at alternatives, 𝑺𝑻𝑹𝑆 proposed, they found through their printer that they use these sort of naked bindings for photo albums and stuff.
Mhm.
And they suggested that we should give it a go, because it really suits the style, the vibes. But we really didn't know, because there's no other RPG that I know of to look at to see how it would work out. And when we did the print proofs, we weren't able to get the actual like cover, so we just had the pages. So it was a bit of a gamble. We didn't know how it would turn out until the copies arrived. But yeah, I think it paid off. It's really cool, as well as really functional, with it laying flat on the table. And I also think it's about the perfect size for me to just grab and hold in my hand while I'm running a game. So that's sort of a revolutionary part of that I found that I really liked when I was playing 𝑺𝑷𝑬𝑨𝑻𝑹, that you could just hold the rule book in your hand and wave it around, which wasn't possible when I was playing stuff like Dungeon Crawls Classics.
Yeah.
I would probably have killed someone if I threw that around. But
Oh, well, absolutely, it's a huge book.
yeah, so yeah, it was a gamble, and it kind of came from just the fact that the printer offered to make them. It's really awesome.
Yeah, but it was a winning gamble, because the first printing just went out at incredible speed. When I discovered that the game was out, I just searched everywhere, and this was sold out everywhere, absolutely everywhere. I also searched secondary shops that maybe have still a copy, and I found one, I don't know, somewhere in Eastern Europe, but I couldn't complete the purchase because of the language. I just became mad. This is a funny story, and then I just waited the second printing.
Yeah, it took us by complete surprise. We had planned for the first printing to last about 3 months, but then it was out in like I think 8 days or something.
Yeah, it lasted.
Um,
It lasted very, 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 very,
so
very
so yeah,
short.
that's amazing. And then the second one went about as fast again. So next time we're definitely gonna keep that in mind.
About the manual, my first impression when I read it was the incredible choice of font, and even for the commercial, that I think it's easy to find a book like that maybe on a train station to the old west. Okay, so I appreciate so much this choose, because sometimes is a little bit forced in other games. In your is very related, accostant to the games that you would like to let us learn, and even little bit of comedy, commercial advertising you can find over there with a little bit of irony. They are very they took the reader be catchy into the catch it by the book, even if it's not long, it's not a 300 pages of manual, but it goes so intense and you read it very well. And when you read, the things that I love more is you read, and while you are reading, you have the perception of what you want to do when you will write something, an adventure, a side lore, a city. So it starts while you are reading, and it's not so common because sometimes you are focused to the rules. No, with the big manuals, you are not focused for what you will do at the end of the reading. No, so in this sense, it's very unique. Let me say.
There was definitely like a thing we wanted to capture, just filling all the text with different adventure hooks. There's hopefully stuff to get them. Basically every page you can find something that you could expand into a complete adventure. And sort of something I wanted to keep from 𝑺𝑷𝑬𝑨𝑲𝑬𝑹 as well. It's the same feeling I had when I read that book. Just your mind gets full of ideas of how different game sessions could play out, and I think that's probably the most fun part of reading a role-playing book, just imagining things happening.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we are receiving a raid from another channel for the great Gonz. Grazie Gonz per il raid. Sorry, I just to say thanks very quickly to my friend Gonz. Grazie Gonz per il raid. Benvenuti a tutti i riders, gentilissimi. Facciamo subito un SEO a Gonz. Grazie, grazie anche per i bit, molto gentili, veramente eccezionali. Grazie tante. Molto, molto, molto gentili. We were speaking about Guns. It is a channel that speaks about horror movies, so it comes from in the sharp moment. We are very happy that he is here because we are speaking not about horror, but in some part. Okay, yes. Anyway, just one further question from my side, because now, you know, speaking, the curiosity became larger and larger. Do you think that there will be for Frontiers Come other future content, or you just led to your public to do new lores or maps or something like that? Just for curiosity, if you can tell us something.
Yeah, I think now that the system is in place, I want to focus a lot on adventure stuff. So that's sort of what I'm working on right now. But we also have like the Scumslinger's Arsenal, which was just a little pamphlet of extra guns to buy. So little stuff like that with some new equipment is also fun to do. But primarily working on adventures, expanding on different regions and such. So definitely.
This is very interesting. This is very cool. About your future, we know that you did even third parties for Morkborg. Do you want, your willing is to continue even in third parties for Morkborg, or open to other possible games, or just keep yourself into your project?
Yep, absolutely. Nice.
Oh well, right now it's just so much with keeping up with Frontier Scum and doing stuff with that. So we'll kind of see what happens in the future. But I'd love to do some more Merkborg stuff when time allows, for sure.
This is very good. This is very good. Because with your style, I will see maybe did something for, I don't know, Pirate Borg or Cyborg or something like that. Maybe a crossing between Cyborg and cowboys, like aliens and cowboys.
Yeah, we'll see.
It could be interesting. It could be interesting. So I think that we can say to you that me and Eric, with Eric as master, we already did online a session of Frontier Scum. And I think that because we had so much funny, I think that we can do another again. Am I right, Eric?
Absolutely, absolutely. It ended very, very bad. It ended with a fugitive hiding in a bear cave, and they ran just in the bear
Fantastic.
cave, and didn't end well.
That sounds just how it's supposed to end.
Yeah, absolutely.
And okay, from the chat, someone says Cyborg and Cowboy reminds me of Brave Star. Do you remember? Maybe you are quite young, but maybe you know that there was this cartoon similar to the Master of the Universe that was called Marshall Bravestar, and there was this steampunk cowboys and marshals that moves into this futuristic world. So I think that I don't know if you ever seen one episode of this.
Never heard of it.
Never. So I kindly invite you to take it, because it could be very inspirational for future issues of a Frontier Scum. Remember, Marshall Bravestar. It was a cartoon of our childhood.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Well,
Okay. We kindly ask you to the chat if someone would like to have another question, some other question.
yeah, last chance, guys.
Yeah, last chance. In
now-
the meanwhile, if I can ask, because I remember one thing that Carl said. Carl said something about cult. Okay, I think that is a game that you appreciate. Am I right?
Cult?
Yeah, no, maybe I've heard wrong. While we are speaking, you speak about cult game, a cult.
Yeah, the Merkborg cult.
Yeah, Mark Borg cult. Okay.
We misunderstood.
Yeah, I was misunderstanding from my side. Sorry. It's it's the
cult
age.
Cult is big in Sweden.
Yeah, I think it's from Sweden. The original game was from Sweden.
Yeah,
Classic.
yeah, it's very popular even here in Italy. So that's why I asked. Did you ever try that game?
I'm not sure if I might have at some convention somewhere, but I can't remember. I've seen it around at least.
It is more common to try some games in Sweden at the convention, or it's more online, or you just found yourself around the table.
Yeah, there's a lot of conventions going on, lots of indie stuff. In Gothenburg, we have, of course, GothCon, which is right around the corner. You can meet a lot of people, play a lot of games. But then there's also like CryptCon, which is just 30 people meeting up, playing OSR games. But it's fun to just try different stuff and meet new people. I'm not sure about online stuff, like online conventions. Maybe there are some.
Very interesting. So, I think that we have arrived at the last station of our organ rail. So, from deep of my heart, Carl, I would like to say thank you to be here with us, to your patience to manage this online talk. You were so kind, and you are so kind person. You are so magnificent author, and we are very happy to have you here. Am I right, Eric?
Absolutely. Thank you again for being with us tonight. It was really a pleasure, and also thanks for Frontiers Camp. That it's absolutely a blast, an amazing game. So
Yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you.
And as usual to our channel, okay, just a little thanks in Italian language. We say grazie a tutti ragazzi, grazie ai Raiders, grazie a chi ha donato, grazie a tutti quanti. Adesso facciamo un bel ride tutti insieme e andiamo a trovare il nostro caro amico Okami. We just make the raid as the end of our talks because it's just we move all our spec into other channel of our friend so they can see even our friend streaming. Anyway, Carl, thank you very much for being here with us, and we hope to have you one more time in the future, maybe with some news, new game, new lores, new expansion from everything. Okay?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, and we say goodbye to all. Thank you very much. Grazie a tutti,
thank you
ragazzi.
again. Grazie a tutti ragazzi.
Ciao ciao.
Ciao, ciao.